Today we're going to read a book called the Tailypo. This is a Halloween story, and it's a ghost story. Okay? Ooh. So don't get too scared. We know that ghosts aren't real, but we like to read about ghosts, don't we? This is called the Tailypo. A long time ago, an old man lived by himself in the deep, big woods. His cabin only had one room, and that room was his parlor, his bedroom, his kitchen, and his bathroom. The old man had 3 dogs. One was called You Know, the other one was called I Know, and the other was called Calico. One day, the man decided to go hunting to catch something for his supper. Here, here, he shouted to his dogs, and they came bounding off the porch, eager for a chase into the deep, big woods. They loved to go hunting. After many hours of hunting, the wind began to blow hard from the valley. And it'll be dark soon, the old man said, and all I've caught is this one skinny rabbit. He was afraid he was going to have to go to bed hungry that night. So he took the rabbit, he took it home, he chopped his tail off, and he cooked the rabbit and ate it for supper. And he gave all of the bones to his dogs. Then he leaned back in his old chair, and it was snug and warm, and before he knew it, he watched the moon as it rose up big and full around the cabin, and the wind was whistling around the cabin. Just as the old man was about to doze off, a most curious creature crept through the cracks in the wall. It had a big, long, furry tail. All at once, as soon as the old man saw it, he reached for his hatchet and he went chop! And he chopped that thing's tail off. But before he could reach for his hatchet another time, the thing was gone. It had slipped through a crack in the wall and had run away. The old man was still very hungry. So he took that big, long, furry tail and he cooked it and he ate it. And then he was nice and warm. His stomach was full. He felt so nice and warm. Before he knew it, he was fast asleep. The old man hadn't been asleep very long before he heard something climbing up the side of his cabin. It sounded like a cat. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Who's that? The old man called. And after a while, he heard a voice saying, Tailypo, Tailypo, I want my Tailypo. The old man was so scared, the scratching went on, and finally the old man began to shiver and shake. Look at his pajamas. The old man began to shiver and shake, and then he remembered his dogs. Here, here, you know, I know, Calico, come. The dogs came bursting out from under the porch, eager for a chase with their noses to the ground. They chased that wild thing into the deep, big woods. Then the man went back inside of his cabin and he locked and barred the door. He went back to sleep. But in the middle of the night, he heard something trying to get in right above the cabin door. Who's there? He asked. And what are you doing when all good folks should be in bed at this time of night? And he listened, and he heard it going, scratch, scratch, scratch. And then he heard a voice saying, Tailypo, Tailypo, I'm coming to get my Tailypo. The old man was so scared that he couldn't even stand up. So he called his dogs from his bed. You know, I know, Calico, come. The dogs came bursting around the corner of the cabin. They caught up with that wild thing at the gate. And they tore the whole fence down trying to get at it. They chased it off into the swamp and made it get lost. at once, it was quiet again. And with a weary sigh, the man went back to bed. Now, toward morning, something down in the swamp woke the old man up. First, he thought it was just the wind blowing louder than usual. But when he listened again, he heard a voice crying, "You know, and I know, that all I want is my Tailypo." The old man got up. Here, dogs, you know, I know, come. This time, the dogs didn't come. The old man ran outside into the moonlight, called again, "Here, dogs, you know, I know, come." But there was no trace of the dogs. There was just the sound of the wind blowing around the old torn down fence. That thing had led the dogs off into the deep, big swamp and made them get lost. Sadly, the man went back inside his house, into his cabin, and he closed and barred the door again. Now, just before daylight, the old man heard something the way people do, and he opened his eyes and he heard something stirring among the pots and pans. And he just felt like someone was in the room with him. You know how you feel like you're not by yourself somewhere. There's someone with you. And then something that sounded just like a cat began going scratch, scratch, scratch. And the old man looked over his bed and he saw two big pointed ears and he saw two big round fiery eyes staring at him. And all the man wanted to do was call for help, but he was so scared he lost his voice and he couldn't say anything. So that thing just kept creeping. Look at his big round fiery eyes and his two ears sticking up. That man the thing just kept creeping up until it was right next to the old man. And then in a low voice he said, "You know, and I know that I'm here to get my Tailypo." The old man was so scared. The old man was so scared that all he could do was pull the cover up over his head. You could see just his eyes pointing out right here, his eyes and his nose, okay? He pulled his covers up over his head, and all at once he got his voice back and he said, "I don't have your Tailypo! I don't have your Tailypo!" "Yes, you do have my Tailypo!" Woo! And he jumped on top of the man and he scratched everything to pieces. Now, there's nothing left of the cabin in the deep, big woods except the chimney. But folks say that when the moon is full and the wind blows, you can still hear a voice saying, "Tailypo, Tailypo, now I've got my Tailypo." And that's the end of the Tailypo. And that's our Halloween book for today, boys and girls, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay.